Released by Square Enix in 2021 on the Nintendo Switch, Bravely Default 2 would be the third game in the series, but feature a new cast, setting, and separate story. Directed by Shunsuke Iwami and written by Yura Kubota and Tomoyoshi Nagai, the game would offer new and revised jobs, a global card game, and a social reward system while still focusing on a deep turn-based combat system. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, a young man is floating adrift as a voice calls to him, saying his untethered life must be woven back into the fabric of the world and return to his destiny. Acknowledging the name Seth, the young man wakes up washed up on the beach and found by a young woman who wonders if this encounter was where the crystal meant to lead them, and an elderly man affirms this is where the light led. Fading out again, Seth now wakes up in the bed of an inn in the city of Halcyonia, believing he was a sailor swept overboard when a large wave hit his ship. Seth is introduced to Sir Sloan, the royal man-at-arms, as he escorts Princess Gloria of the fallen kingdom of Musa on her way to meet with Halcyonia's King Vernon. Seth is completely unfamiliar with the land he's in, and returning to the beach to look for any clues, he finds an old woman observing the wreckage before the pair are attacked by monsters. Fortunately, they are saved by the magic of a black mage passing by alongside his hired freelancer, introducing themselves as Elvis and Adele. Working together, the trio are fast to get along, though Elvis pulls out a strange stone called an asterisk, asking Seth if he's seen one like it. He heard there was one in the area, and he's a scholar on a journey to collect them, but Seth doesn't have any information. Meanwhile, King Vernon tells Gloria his Prime Minister Horton is offering to find her a suitor in order to help re-establish her political standing, but the princess declines the offer, more interested in her sacred duty. Horton is insulted at her dismissal, though she continues to explain she urgently needs to recover her kingdom's greatest treasure, the 4 crystals. She currently has the Wind Crystal but has yet to locate the other 3, warning them the unchecked raw power could be disastrous for the world. Understanding, King Vernon supports her choice, and soon enough word arrives that the desert kingdom of Savalon is somehow flooded with water. While Gloria figures this to be the work of a crystal, Sloan catches 2 suspicious onlookers who introduce themselves as Selena, the White Mage, and Dag, the Vanguard. The pair immediately demand the Wind Crystal in her possession, revealing themselves to possess asterisks as well, and holding them back, Sloan wonders if they had anything to do with the fall of Musa, asking the name of their leader. Ignoring him, Dag reveals a child hostage in their grasp, though Gloria states they do not have the crystal in their person, and so Selena takes her as a hostage as Dag gives a quick sucker punch to Sloan, telling him to show up with the crystal. Later, Seth, Elvis, and Adele enter town and spot an injured Sloan, helping him up as Elvis has also heard of the famous knight from his late mentor, Lady Emma. Sloan informs them of Gloria's capture, warning them the rogues also wield an asterisk, and Elvis is keen to help out even more now. He explains that a mysterious book among Lady Emma's possessions contains illegible pages until an asterisk is waved before it, and different asterisks reveal more of the book, so he's out to catch them all. Setting out together, the group raids the hideout as Sloan tosses a flashbang through the door while the others exfiltrate Gloria. However, Selena and Dag quickly recover and corner them, and desperate to survive, Seth's will resonates with the Wind Crystal on Sloan as it speaks to Seth and reveals it was the one who revived him after he was killed by fate. Shocked to learn he already died, Seth is given a choice to embrace the sweet release of death or step into the light and survive in a world suffering from human imperfections and absurdities. Choosing to accept the light, Seth now glows with the Wind Crystal's blessing as Sloan marvels how he is now a hero of light. With his newfound power, Seth helps the group defeat the outlaws and claim their White Mage and Vanguard asterisks. Dag and Selena give up and run away as the group returns to Halcyonia to rest, and Seth is spotted by the old woman he saved on the beach. She thanks him by giving him her old but seaworthy boat capable of making expeditions to distant but bountiful shores for treasure, including finding a strange pretty stone he decides to hold on to. Reconvening, Gloria explains that the royal line of Musa has long had the duty of safekeeping the 4 crystals in order to prevent a calamity called the Night's Nexus from occurring. However, the crystals of fire, water, and earth were stolen, and now bizarre disturbances across the land indicate the calamity grows near. Sloan asks the group to help her in this endeavor, and as Seth wants to know about his death, Elvis figures the crystal thieves all have asterisks, and Adele is searching for her missing sister Edna. They all agree to help each other and travel together. Afterwards, Sloan speaks to Seth on the side, telling him he too was once blessed by the Wind Crystal 50 years ago, as he and his friends once embarked on a journey to find a means to defeat the Night's Nexus. Gloria's grandfather, King Godric, was among his companions, known as the Heroes of Light, and considering Seth to be a sort of heir as the next chosen of the Wind Crystal, he asks him to swear his life to the protection of Princess Gloria, and wishing to repay his debt to her, Seth agrees. The next day, the group heads out to Savalon, shocked to soon encounter a dapper monster who can also speak named Truff, who seeks his human friend, a traveling chef named Mitch. Passing through the mountains, the group takes a detour on Sloane's behalf to visit the grave of his wife, and after paying their respects are unexpectedly interrupted by Prime Minister Horton. Bluntly, he demands the Wind Crystal, revealing he intends to give it to the nation of Holograd in exchange for control of Halcyonia, and also admits he was the one who hired Selena and Dag. Taking out an Asterisk, he attacks the group, but is soon defeated as the group claims the Monk class from him. Overlooking the battle, Holograd's Lord Commander Adam makes his appearance, striking down Horton and easily beating down the group. Taking the Wind Crystal personally, he tosses aside Gloria as Sir Sloane does his best to buy them time to escape. Clashing blades, Sloane pours everything he has into driving Adam back, leading up to sacrificing himself to destroying the way behind the reluctantly fleeing party, forcing Adam to withdraw for now. Later, the party returns to retrieve their fallen knight, burying him alongside his wife as Seth doubles down on his promise to the old hero of light. Arriving at Savalon, they see the lower quarters are indeed underwater. Seeking the king, they observe an angry mob outside the gaming hall demanding to know if the reason for the flooding is due to Lord Bernard's secret underground tunnel project, and a bard named Orpheus forcibly calms and disperses them through magical means. Gloria recognizes him as the former music court minstrel who was caught embezzling funds and then kicked out of the country, and the two exchange less than pleasant words. Moving on, the party meets with Prince Castor, who wishes he could help as Musa was a longtime ally of Savalon, but the kingdom is struggling on top of the issue of their king suddenly missing. He also adds the city's water troubles began 3 years ago, around the same time as when Musa fell. Castor moves to consult the topic of the water crystal with the Council of Elders, including Bernard, master of the gaming hall, who indeed claims ownership of the flooding as an error his men made when digging an underground waterway, denying any knowledge of the water crystal. However, Castor finds it awfully suspicious that Bernard's gaming hall is one of the few places not flooded despite the vast amount of water it uses. Wishing to be a friend and ally to Gloria, Castor accompanies them as they investigate Bernard, who welcomes them into his casino and introduces them to Annie Hall, his Beastmaster employee. He welcomes their efforts to try and inspect him, and the party first thinks to talk to Orpheus first. However, the bard leads them to the ruins of the old city, where he instead tries to kill Gloria as revenge for his past, but the party defeats him and claims his bard Asterisk. Squealing, Orpheus rats out Bernard is behind it all, and as Elvis holds the stone close to his mysterious tome, it reveals a recent secret conversation of Orpheus and Bernard. Exposed, Orpheus makes a hasty escape as Castor apologizes for doubting the group, and Seth notices an out-of-place bird watching them. Elsewhere, Annie Hall reports Orpheus' failure to assassinate the princess to Bernard, though she is helped later by the party who sticks up for her against her stigma as an outsider from the circus. Hearing her vagrant story, they learn how Bernard took her in and took care of her, earning her loyalty, which is why she cannot allow them to find the water crystal but doesn't want to fight them either. At an impasse, the group looks into the reservoir Bernard built, convinced it is the work of the crystal, and ordered by Bernard to stop them, Annie Hall commands her beasts to attack them, though the group prevails, claiming her Beastmaster Asterisk. Panicked that she will be abandoned again, the party supports her and persuades her that Bernard is in the wrong, prompting Annie Hall to divulge the location of the crystal. Raiding Bernard's mansion, they enter a hidden room and find the crystal, where the thief waits to cut them off. With silent fury, Gloria's will begins to resonate with the crystal, as the crystal shares with her it also chose her grandfather Godric once before, though he was not able to fulfill his destiny with the path he chose. Regardless, Gloria is still determined to continue moving forward towards the same destiny, accepting the crystal's blessing, and using her might to challenge Bernard's unoriginal Godspeed strike spamming strategy. Victorious, Bernard's Asterisk outfit reverts back to the exact same outfit he normally wears, as Prince Castor corners them with his own soldiers. However, the thief laughs while explaining the prince is actually on his side as the true mastermind behind it all. The prince does not deny this and instead backstabs Bernard as well, calmly pinning the murder on the party and casting them into the dungeon. The party realizes they've been played into a scheme to secure the crystal for Castor, though the prince claims its power will be needed in bringing life again to his desert kingdom. Down in the dungeons, the group sees Castor's brother Pollux has been imprisoned here too, with a lie told to the public as a cover story, and explains Castor has not been the same since he came to possess an Asterisk. Soon enough, Annie Hall arrives to break them out as the group returns directly back to Castor, who reveals his berserker power. Ragefully defending the fate of his kingdom, Castor loses to the group as they claim his berserker Asterisk. Right as more guards arrive, the Asterisk reveals to Ellis' book that the prince advocated the invasion and destruction of Musa in order to steal the water crystal and save Savalon. In addition, he also uses Asterisk to kill the king, cover it up, and then buy Bernard's cooperation with a seat on the council. Verified by the court recorder who witnessed it all, Castor is cornered but refuses to be arrested, slipping and falling off a balcony to his death as the party retrieves the water crystal. As Pollux assumes leadership, he apologizes for his nation's crimes, saying it was a mysterious woman who gave his brother his asterisk and knowledge of the water crystal. Before they leave to search for the next crystal, Annie Hall mentions she saw one in Wiswald's tower during her circus days, which turns out to be the city where Elvis was born into a noble house. With the help of Truff's tree-chopping technique, Elvis notices the area around his hometown to be more densely forested, and Gloria figures this to be the influence of the Earth Crystal. Elsewhere, the assassin Marla reports to Adam about the unstable situation in Savalon and how Gloria now has the water crystal, as Adam consults with his mysterious advisor Edna, much to the jealousy of Marla. Back with the group, they detour into Bernard's old gambling hall where they meet a dealer named Shirley who introduces them to a battle card game named Bind and Divide, though Orpheus is nearby, warning them not to get cleaned out by her like he did. He adds that she holds an asterisk and as revenge hands them his ace card to take her down. Betting their asterisks against hers, the group overcomes the odds and beats her in a duel to secure her gambler job. Moving on, as the party enters Wiswald, they find the city overgrown with trees as Elvis spots his old friend Galahad guarding the exact tower they wish to investigate. Strangely, their attempt at entry triggers some malicious mental programming as Galahad attacks the group while consumed by some strange energy. The group is forced to retreat as suspects an asterisk is behind his power and erratic madness, as Elvis thinks they should check out the Magical Institute next, personally knowing the leader there. Meeting his old friend Roddy, the two catch up, though when the tower is mentioned, a strange energy also drives Roddy into a violent rage. Backing off, Elvis is puzzled at the sudden affliction when he spots Roddy's wife Lily, and approaching her, sees her in a mourning dress and sharing that she and Roddy are separated now. Confused at this as well, is revealed their young daughter Mona was killed in an accident at the Institute, on top of recent misfortunes like houses crushed by giant trees and scholars disappearing and orphaning their children. Thinking to get more answers from the Institute, they sneak in through the sewers, noting the bizarrely blue water that is almost paint-like in tone as Seth notices something like a small child. Entering the Institute, they find Roddy muttering to a strange painting about seeking a better blue in order to be together with Mona again, though he again turns to attack the group. The party now sees an out-of-place demon haunting the Red Mage and seeking to free Roddy, destroy the demon to return him to his senses and acquire his asterisk. Though Roddy's memory is foggy on recent events, he suspects he became possessed shortly after receiving the odd painting and asterisk from someone after Mona died. Hearing Lily may be under similar possession, he joins them in heading to their old home, where along the way they see a woodsman stripping bark for a client who wants the bright yellow for their paint. Avoiding Lily's attempt to snipe them, the group confronts her to see her protecting a doll dressed up like Mona, beside another haunting painting wailing in the voice of their dead daughter. Banishing the painted devil haunting her, they also bring her back to reality while taking her ranger asterisk. Her explanation for acting strangely is similar to Roddy's, and they suspect the same is true for Galahad. Entering the treetop tower, they find the knight speaking to another warped painting, regretting not protecting Mona during the accident, and after dispelling his demons too, he also reverts to normal as the party gains a Shieldmaster asterisk. Beyond, they are unsurprised to find the Earth Crystal behind all of this, but this turns out to be a trap, as Elvis's book now glows and reveals a particular painter controlling people with her cursed creations. Returning to town, it dawns on them that a little girl has been silently adding graffiti paintings across town, and after cleaning them all off, follows the trail of paint back to a cave. Within, they learn the source of the red paint the girl has been using for her paintings to be the blood from the corpses of those she killed in town, and catch her working as she introduces herself as Folie. She's glad to have been part of the invasion effort of Musa alongside nations like Rheimdall, and enjoys using the Earth Crystal to help her gather superior material for her art. She adds killing Mona was just a means to an end to get Roddy to make perfect blue paint, and snapping at this fact, Elvis furiously declares this fight isn't about crystals or asterisks, but simple revenge now. Encroaching upon Folie, the Earth Crystal resonates with him, accepting his goal-driven road of hardship and blesses the scholar with its power. Having every intention of prying Folie's asterisk from her cold dead fingers, Elvis battles against the artist as her masterpiece comes alive on the wall itself. Once they gain her Pictomancer job, the entire cave begins to collapse as Seth sees the ghost of a child leading them to safety, and Folie is crushed by the cave-in. As Seth thinks the ghost was Mona, Roddy, Lily, and Galahad are finally able to put their grieving to rest and move forward. Gloria recalls Folie mentioning the kingdom of Rheimdall among those who invaded Musa, making that their next destination, and as they leave, Seth now hears Mona thank them as he returns the grateful gesture. As the next chapter of their journey continues, the group navigates past the aptly named Wayward Woods, while Adele mentions she's been to Rheimdall before. In fact, as they get closer, she notices less of the giant glaciers in the frozen region, and a small dragon appears before them to affirm their suspicion of them all melting. Recognizing her friend Gwillem, Adele learns he's come out to investigate the reason for the sudden stench of mass human death permeating the valley. Taking him along, they follow his nose to Rheimdall itself, where they hear a fairy has been discovered despite fairies having been gone for a long time. Instead, what they witness is a witch trial conducted by Bishop Helio, accusing someone of being a fairy and forcing her to jump to her death to prove her innocence and faith of the Lord Dragon. The party objects to this fanatical execution, but Archbishop Dominic appears to explain to them that if she was a fairy in disguise, then she would use her wings to save herself, and if they are innocent and fall, then their Lord Dragon will save them. Claiming to hear the word of the Lord Dragon, he says their prayers have been answered by the cold being lifted from their land. However, Gloria calls out the cult leader's claims, stating they both know it's really the fire crystal at work, and believe she is right when he avoids her questions. Afterwards, they are confronted by Chief Inquisitor Helio alongside Gladys, an overeager swordmaster who is quick to think the group is a bunch of fairies too. After they leave, Gwillem says his dad, the Lord of Dragons this kingdom worships, wants to see them, and at the same time the Archbishop orders his Inquisition to find cause to brand the party as heretics before they find the fire crystal. Along the way, the group spots Truff and help him reunite with his chef friend Mitch, and later find a salvemaker needing to help his brother out of a sleeping sickness by jumping into his dream with the help of his asterisk. Helping out the brothers through their hard time, they willingly hand over the almighty salvemaker job, and the group continues on their way. Later arriving at the Serpent's Grotto, they are greeted by its guardian, a dragoon named Martha, who knows Adele and is aware of Gloria. Taking them to Gwydion, the Lord Dragon opens up by explaining he has nothing to do with, nor condones the executions in Rheimdall, and his words do not reach the Archbishop who has started them. However, he swore not to intervene directly in matters of state, not to mention his weak body is dying, and so asks the party to act on his behalf and stop the judgments. Agreeing, an eager Martha pulls him aside for a friendly spar, and after the party wins, earns her trust and Dragoon asterisk. She then also asks their help in stopping the Archbishop, who is abusing his position of authority and the blind faith of the people, removing anyone of inconvenience, and the group thinks to rally support in town of anyone who is also questioning the Archbishop too. In addition, she speaks about Gladys, mentioning her parents died and she thinks the fairies killed them, which prompted her to join the Inquisition, and suggests they try and convince her to see the truth too. Returning to Rheimdall, they witness Helio now accuse a girl named Margaret of being a fairy for being outspoken about their judgments, but to the side, the group learns she is the daughter of Father Ridian, a priest expected to be the next Archbishop, which makes us seem politically motivated. Running into a leering Gladys, Martha also appears, still a respected sister in arms, and calms her down, while also explaining she was suddenly summoned by the Archbishop. Seth finds that awfully suspicious, and she agrees, but they are interrupted by Margaret's judgment being announced. The priest's daughter calls out the conspiracy of someone using the fairies as an excuse to kill those they don't like, and Father Ridian openly disputes the lack of evidence to challenge the Inquisitor's judgment. Regardless, the townsfolk shove Margaret off of the ledge to her death, and Ridian hurries to the bottom to try and find her. Following him, the father and the group are shocked to see the mountain of corpses, knowing it's not possible all of them were unbelievers, and the priest is convinced now the judgment is not the will of the Lord of Dragons at all. Stepping in, Bishop Helio declares them all heathens, and Adele demands Gladys open her eyes to how wrong this all is. Ordering their deaths, Helio and Gladys attack the group but are adeptly defeated and stripped of their Spirit Master and Sword Master asterisks. Helio flees as Gladys covers his escape, but Adele forces her to look at the mounds of dead and see for herself that no one has been saved, and things have gotten worse since the judgment started on baseless accusations. Returning to town to expose the sins of the Archbishop, they now see Dominic personally and publicly accuse Martha of being a fairy. Martha counters by declaring the Archbishop cannot hear the Lord of Dragons, nor his message to stop, and for this Martha is also shoved off of the ledge. However, Adele quickly leaps down after her, shocking everyone by transforming into a fairy, catching her and flying her back to safety. Despite his opinions, Ridian hides them away as Adele apologizes for keeping this fact hidden, explaining that fairies are supposed to stay hidden to the point where they're not even supposed to leave their hidden village. She adds that the reason she left her village is to find her sister who disappeared after stealing all of the asterisks, which are the sealed knowledge of the greatest masters of their respective professions. Under the cover of the city in chaos, they decide now to confront the Archbishop, finding him before the fire crystal, convinced the crystal is also proof of his right to rule over Rheimdall. Disgusted by his insanity, Adele's anger resonates with the fire crystal, who tells her it once blessed the Queen of Fairy kind like it now blesses her. The crystal also warns her sister Edna is seeking to break the chains the fairies made to bind the Knight's Nexus, and Adele swears to stop her alongside the other heroes of light. Empowered by the crystal now, Adele overcomes the corrupt Archbishop, taking away his Oracle asterisk. Bemoaning his loss, a sudden dagger ends Dominic's life, thrown by Helio, who reveals all this was in preparation for Holograd's invasion that starts now. Quickly stealing the fire crystal, Helio escapes as the group puts aside their differences to support Reimdall in repelling Holograd. Splitting up to repel the first wave and hunt down Helio, Gladys takes charge to help her countrymen, though one of them recognizes her and stabs her in the back as revenge for Gladys killing his sister. Chuckling to the side is Helio, who observes the irony of her being felled by grief-stricken revenge as reward for her pursuit of grief-stricken revenge. He then reveals he was the one who personally killed her parents for suspecting his motives since the beginning, and with her last burst of strength she tackles him down, knocking the fire crystal away without him noticing. Helio flees as the tide of battle turns thanks to the appearance of Lord Gwydion to personally repel the invaders, as Gladys limps in to deliver the fire crystal back to the group before dying in Martha's arms. Cornering the mole, Gwydion incinerates Helio as he turns to face Adam, who arrives on the battlefield. The two clash and though the Conqueror wins, killing the ancient dragon, he takes more damage than expected as Holograd proceeds to the next phase of its plan, marching into Halcyonia. Adam assigns his top commanders to subdue Halcyonia, Savalon, and Wiswald as the group receives word from Annie Hall and Roddy that Savalon and Wiswald are both under siege. After paying respects to Gladys, who turned out to be Galahad's sister, they head back to Halcyonia first, where they learn the king surrendered in order to spare the city. Leading the occupation is the reasonable and sympathetic yet firmly duty-bound Lonsdale, who nonchalantly sees through the group's attempt to blend in, and later suggests to the king that he govern Halcyonia as a vassal state. However, Adam orders the king to be executed despite Lonsdale's objections, though the group catches word of this and manages to sneak in and rescue him in time. Intercepted by Lonsdale, the group tries to reason with him as the soldier replies he made a promise to Adam's father to look after Adam and he's only working out of obligation, not loyalty to Adam. The party edges out a win against a formidable assailant, taking away his bastion Asterisk, and chooses to return his professional courtesy by accepting his request to allow the Holograd soldiers to stand down and return home unimpeded. Quickly moving to Savalon, Prince Pollux struggles to unite the Council of Elders in action, especially as the ones who oppose joining the Empire have all died in mysterious manners. Investigating this, they discover an imposter among them but fail to capture the assassin, soon calling an emergency meeting to examine the clues and testimony so far to root out the Phantom Menace. Confessing to merely killing those who killed her father, Marla reveals herself only to lose to the party and lose her Phantom Asterisk as well. Proceeding quickly to Wiswald, they save Roddy, who explains Vigentio, a mage once killed by their master Lady Emma, has returned with an undead army. Having turned himself into a wight, he now intends to turn the entire city into undead as revenge. Thanks to Lady Emma's research, they duplicate a way to temporarily reverse his undead immortality long enough to deliver him a true death. Finishing what his teacher started, Elvis sees to the end of Vigentio while also claiming his Arcanist Asterisk. With the three cities liberated, the nations decide to retaliate and take the fight to Holograd while the group seeks to reclaim the Wind Crystal. Marching to the gates of Holograd, the team enters the seat of the Empire, fighting their army's HQ to confront Adam personally. The Lord Commander declares his intent to unify the world under strong leadership, using the Wind Crystal to turn the building into a flying fortress. Following him straight to the source, Adam elaborates that only foolish dreamers think peace can be obtained through harmony and cooperation, proving his point by how easily each kingdom fell just by giving them a crystal to satisfy selfish desires. Gloria warns him that by draining the power of the crystals this way, the Knight's Nexus will be freed and doom them all, but ignoring this, Adam draws his blade against the four Heroes of Light as they clash and triumph to take away his Hellblade Asterisk. After the battle, everyone turns to see Edna drain the crystal of the last of its power, revealing her true intention to her sister Adele of making the humans suffer. Revealing her fairy form as well, the airship begins to sink without the power of the crystal as Edna flies away, though just in time, a bigger Gwillem and Martha arrive to save them as well. Adam saves Seth from being crushed by debris, and wondering why, Adam replies he didn't save him so much as he is allowing Seth to live and repay him for crushing his dream by crushing Edna's now. Tossing him the Wind Crystal, he orders Seth to live and do his bidding, opting to stay behind and go down with his ship and ambitions, declaring he leaves this bleak world by his own choice. Safely escaping, the group sees the Knight's Nexus is waking up as Gwillem explains more, revealing each Lord of Dragons inherits all of the knowledge of their predecessors. Centuries ago, there was a sacred spring from which true knowledge flowed. There was one who coveted that knowledge and sought to keep it all for themselves, called the Knight's Nexus. However, it began to hunger for more, wishing to then consume all things. At this time, the four crystals would choose four heroes to save the world, and though they would defeat the darkness, they could not destroy it, using the power of the crystals to seal it instead. Over time, the power of the crystals would wane, needing to be restored to their full strength again, and Gloria adds this was a sacred duty of the House of Musa to be conducted every 200 years. Before it's too late, she urges them to return to the crystal's resting place now. Taking them to the crumbled ruins of Musa, Gloria leads them to the underground shrine where the party defeats guardian beasts and the crystals speak again to their chosen. Each crystal commends a warrior for overcoming the struggle of the journey, but they all reply it wasn't so bad with supportive friends who helped them in the hard times, chose their own paths forward, and instead of obliging miserable fates were able to bravely default too. Afterwards, Elvis's book imparts a new vision, this time a memory of 50 years ago where the previous Heroes of Light were facing down the Night's Nexus, with a team composed of Queen Eileen of the Fairies, King Godric of Musa, Lady Emma, and Sir Sloane. Beyond, waiting for them is Edna, and Adele tries to appeal to her, stating that her bitterness and anger must be the result of the Night's Nexus's influence. Laughing in response, Edna accepts power from the Night's Nexus to try and destroy the party, but when this isn't enough, sacrifices herself to the Night's Nexus directly. Stepping forward, Gloria prays to the crystals to finally restore them, succeeding in resealing the darkness, and then collapses. She reveals her own life was necessary as a catalyst for the restoration and apologizes to the group for concealing this fact, knowing they would have tried to stop her if they knew. Dying in Seth's arms, she sincerely thanks them all as she passes away peacefully, and the group returns to a peaceful world protected by the crystals. At least, that's one vision the book imparts to the group as a potential future outcome, though Gloria insists there is no other way. Seth refuses to accept that, pointing out her grandfather and Sir Sloane also thought there may be another way, and thinks a clue may be in the book. Unable to decipher anymore, Adele now suggests they visit Fairytown, Magmel, as they walk away from Edna and leave her to be consumed by the darkness. Taking them to the entrance, Adele is turned away at the illusory gate until she warns them of the Night's Nexus's return. Entering the sanctuary, the fairies are unwelcome to the humans as they meet with the leader, Lady Esmeralda, and update her on the situation. At first, she still shuns the humans, but Elvis's personality persuades her to leave the past behind and notice how much more similar the two species are to each other than not. To the side, Adele expresses her gratitude and affection for Elvis, and giving them a chance, Esmeralda explains long ago the fairies were once visited by a woman who came seeking the wisdom and memories of the fairies. Ignoring their rules, she engorged herself on forbidden knowledge and became a creature of malign power called the Night's Nexus. Since then, no humans have ever been allowed into Magmel again. Now that it threatens both of their worlds, they must work together to defeat it, knowing the Nexus will come here for the font of knowledge that contains all wisdom and memory. Making preparations at the fountain, they see that looking into the water shows them things from the past as the fairies join them in confronting the Nexus. Banding together, the party destroys the Eater of Memories, but before they can celebrate their victory, it rises up again, killing any nearby fairies easily and revealing that through past memories etched in the endless black, it will continue to rise again every time it falls. Leeching the knowledge and memories from the group, the Nexus also devours the asterisks from them all, and seeing no other choice, Esmeralda says she will freeze Magmel and the Night's Nexus in time. She tells Adele to leave and flee with the group, trusting Elvis to take care of her, but as the others pass through the veil, Adele stops and stays back. She tells them she feels she cannot run away from this, understanding how Gloria felt, but Elvis begs her to either come out or let him in, as long as they're both together. Desperately, Elvis confesses his love for her and she replies she loves him too, stepping away to be ripped away with the fairy sanctuary and frozen in time forever. At least, that's another possible outcome, as the group reflects outside the grave of Sir Sloane if there is any other option to fight the Nexus. Just then, the ghost of Sir Sloane appears before them, recognizing their strength, but wishes to test their bravery, assuming a youthful form at his peak power, and dueling the new Heroes of Light. As they prove their mettle, he approves and reveals the asterisk of bravery that was once split in half and thought lost are actually in the palm of his sword and the shard Seth picked up in the boat of the old woman he helped. Reforming the Brave Bearer asterisk, Sloane hopes this will help them shatter the chains of destiny as Elvis announces the entire book is finally legible to them. Inscribed within, the book mentions a librarian that in an effort to preserve her power for all eternity, gathered all of the asterisks and their limitless potential. In doing this, the librarian also locked away all of her memories that made her who she was, turning an asterisk into a book, and thus was able to live forever in a way. Locking away limitless potential for only herself, she would see and know all, etching everything into the endless black. By doing so, she would consolidate all memory into one, adopting the name the Night's Nexus. Digesting what they just read, they realize the book they've been working with this entire journey is not only an asterisk, but the preserved memory and power of the Night's Nexus. Figuring they now have to destroy the book in order to defeat the Nexus, they find conventional means don't work and are puzzled how one deletes memories at all. Opening the book again, they are shocked to discover the Knight's Nexus has been preserving their own experience and memories perfectly as a save file this entire time, explaining how she could restore herself. Navigating to the Night Nexus's precious game save data that the librarian poured tons of hours into, they simply overwrite the memory slot to delete it, and elsewhere, the old woman senses the time has come as she looks to a place across the sea. Observing both of these occurrences, they figure all that's left is to properly defeat the Nexus this time without its backup save file, and visit the old lady by the sea. Seth questions if she is who he thinks she is, and she reveals she is in fact Eileen, the Fairy Queen, having waited 50 years for the next Hero of Light. She recounts how her group tried and failed to come up with a permanent way to defeat the Knight's Nexus, and so Godric had no choice but to sacrifice himself to buy the world more time. Understanding this, the group reveals they found where the Nexus is hiding across the sea, and she thinks they mean the Outer Oceans, which is the name they give to dimensions beyond their own. Seth wonders if she means where one goes when they die, and she explains only one from the other side may cross the Outer Oceans, and so turns to Seth to lead the way. Embarking, the group passes through light to land on a strange island warped from various biomes, and find the Knight's Nexus in its den. Unforgiving and unforgetting, the Knight's Nexus craves every memory in the world, as the greedy, insatiable darkness tries to consume the party's memories, though Seth is able to awaken them from their stupor. Braving through the clutches of the Nexus, the group combines their might with the spirit of the 4 Heroes of Light before them, as Seth, Gloria, Elvis, and Adele finally destroy the closed grasp of limitless potential. As the island begins to collapse on its own, the group is saved by the 4 crystals, who return them to their original world, but when they arrive, they are shocked to see Seth isn't with them. Finding himself drowning in dark waters again, the Wind Crystal tells Seth as the wind knows no end or rest, so too shall his journey continue, restoring him to this world after all. Finally reappearing before the group, an overjoyed Gloria leaps towards Seth, hugging him firmly as she celebrates their mutual second lease on life together, as they all welcome him back home. Bravely Default 2 has enjoyed the success of selling over 1 million copies worldwide. Thanks for watching the video, and please check out the guide I made on the class combos for this game too. If you enjoyed the recap, then leave a like, and big thanks to the patron and channel member warriors. Links are in the description for how to support the channel and get extra videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.